To go ahead and get you now inside this news conference in Lake County, Fruitland Park Elementary School, where Governor Ron DeSantis is getting ready to speak. Beginning to speak, you see the placard of Hope Florida. He's been going on a public relations tour, in effect, for Hope Florida as questions swirl it, including part of a probe from lawmakers looking into a $10 million donation. Let's go ahead and listen in to the governor live in Lake County.
Did I say it right? Almost. Executive Director of Kids Are First and a Hope Florida Fund, Foundation Fund recipient. So when it comes to education, we are working hard to set the standard. We have done it. We don't rest. We're ranked #1 in education by U.S. News and World Report the last 2 years, #1 in higher education the last 8 years, #1 in education freedom, #1 in parent empowerment and parental involvement in education. And if you look at where we are with education choice, for example, we have 500,000 students now that are on scholarships to go to the school of their choice. We have over 400,000 that are in charter schools, public schools, but they're not necessarily, controlled by the school districts. And then we've had record choice programs emerge in our school districts throughout the state of Florida. And so students likely have options within their school district, they likely have options for charter, and they likely have options for scholarship for private. And we also have a very strong homeschooling community in Florida. And so that is really giving families, regardless of income, an opportunity to get a good education for their kids. And of our private scholarships, we do have scholarships that go to students with unique abilities. And there are schools in Florida now that really exclusively focus on children with unique abilities. And that's been a huge game changer for so many families throughout the state of Florida. We also are proud of higher education, no tuition increases for in-state tuition since I've been governor. So the average in-state tuition is about $6,300 for Florida's public universities. And we have 4 universities in the top 50 public. University of Florida has been ranked in top 5, Florida State. We also have, of course, University of South Florida, and then Florida International University. And we have others that are doing well, too. But you can go to a university as a Florida resident and not have to go into debt at all. And that's a huge, huge thing for young people. And then we have Bright Futures programs. So if you score high enough, you get no tuition costs. And then if you're rung below that, you get 75% off the tuition. So that is a huge deal. So we're graduating a lot of students with no or minimal debt, which, I don't care, what they're doing in some of these schools, but when they are charging, some of this stuff all in, room and board, is $80,000 to $100,000 a year. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, that is just not going to work. So we're really proud of what we've been able to do with that. We've led the nation in supporting the rights of parents to make sure that they know what's going on in the schools. We've made sure our universities are focused on education and not political indoctrination, and that's an ongoing issue that we continue to do. But I think you've seen Florida really lead the way in many, many good ways. And then even in K-12 funding, the current year's budget, we have the record per pupil spending, almost $9,000 per pupil. That's $240 more per pupil over the previous year. Last school year, our graduation rate rose to 89.7%. That's an increase of almost 2% over the previous year, and that was the highest that we had ever recorded in Florida history. When I became governor, Florida had been doing a lot of the testing, end-of-year testing, the FCAT, and the other iterations of that program. And while you have to evaluate, you can't just say, you go. You do need to evaluate. You need to know how students are doing. It was almost like you'd prepare for this test at the end of the year, and then if you didn't do well, you're at summer vacation, and so there was no time for remediation. So we replaced that high-stakes test, end-of-year testing model with progress monitoring. So you have progress that's monitored throughout the school year. So you may do a test see some deficiencies, but then you have time to work with the parents and rectify that. And so that's been very positively received. The results have been good, and this has been going on now for really just a couple of years, but that was a very positive change. And then last year we had the last full school year 2024, 1,300 schools earned an A grade, and that's a 6-point increase over 2023. And I know we've got a lot of A schools here in Lake County, so we really appreciate what you're able to do with that. We've also done a lot on school safety and mental health. I put in the budget $570 million for 24-25 fiscal year. I don't know if any people are following the machinations in Tallahassee. They do not have a budget agreed upon in the legislature yet, and we have Friday is the end of the legislative session. So I don't know where that's going to land or where that's going to stand, but I do think that what we've done on school safety, mental health has been very positive over the years in the state of Florida. Some of that grew out of the Parkland and the recommendations that were implemented, and I think it's made a really, really big difference. Another thing that we've done that's been really positive is focus on workforce education. Yes, going and preparing people to be college ready is good. That's a good path for a lot of students, but it's not the only path to go to a 4-year brick and ivy university. And if you look at the economy, particularly over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been demand for skilled trades and being able to do it. And we have a lot of industries that have grown. We've added 100,000 manufacturing jobs in Florida since I've been governor. Our manufacturing businesses are up 30%. You have opportunities certainly in Central Florida. You go over to the Space Coast, you have a lot of people that are involved in aviation, aerospace, and can make a really, really good living having these needed skills. So we've worked really hard to do that. We had over 800,000 CTE students and 480,000 post-secondary CTE students in the most recent academic year. We've also pioneered the idea of rapid credentialing, and we got almost 80,000 rapid credentials in 2024. Those are disproportionately, if not exclusively, skills-based credentials, and we've invested over $10 billion in workforce education programs since I've become governor. Teacher pay. We approved a $200 million increase for teacher salaries in the most recent budget. Total amount for exclusively teacher pay was $1.25 billion. When I became governor, people would talk about teacher pay, and you can increase education funding. Florida sends a lot of money to the school districts, but then it's determined on the district how to do it. So you can say, hey, the teachers need more money, let's increase spending. And then it goes down. They don't have to spend it on teacher salaries, right? I mean, that's a determination of the school board, working with the school district. You have the interest groups that get involved. And so we said, if you want to do teacher pay, then you have to say, here's money, and it can only be used for teacher pay. So we created a categorical in the budget that could only be used for teacher salaries. I think it started at $500 million the first time. It got up to $1.25 billion this most recent year. In my budget, and I think in the Florida Senate's budget, we have $1.5 billion for this upcoming fiscal year, and I think that'll be very good. So the districts can kind of determine how they want to do it. Initially we needed to get that average minimum salary up, but I think everyone's met that threshold. So they can apportion that in different ways, but they got to give it to the teachers, and that's allowed us to increase the average minimum salary. I think it was like $39,000 4 or 5 years ago, and now that's up closer to $50,000, which is helpful. I mean, it's not nearly enough, obviously, for how much costs have gone up for people in a high inflation economy, and hopefully we'll see that ebb as the months go on. But that's been a real big issue over the last 3 or 4 years for a lot of people. But we've put record amounts of money. We've never done this much resources for teacher pay in the entire history of Florida than we have in these most recent years. And I know we've had a lot of great support from people in the legislature to be able to do that. One of the things that we stressed was civics education. I think people realize, there has not been a good job in the recent generation in teaching young people about what it means to be an American, about our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution. We have our 250th anniversary coming up next year, next July 4th, 2026. And so, but this is really important because you're graduating folks from high school, let's say. They're going to go in a whole different directions for different things that they'll pursue, but they're all going to be called upon to exercise the duty of being an American citizen. And you should have a foundation about what that means. So we really put an emphasis on civics education. And it's one thing to say, you must learn this, you must learn that. But you also have to have teachers that are well-versed in this and that are passionate about it. And it just occurred to me, having looked at higher ed reform, you go to a lot of these universities, some of them don't offer really anything that's straightforward about the founding of America. And that's one of the most critical periods to study in all of human history. And so you could be somebody that's gung-ho about civics, and you just may never have been exposed to a lot of the foundational elements that ended up leading to the creation of America and have been reflected in our founding documents. So we created a program called the Civic Seal of Excellence, which and you get a bonus for going through. You go through this course, I think it's 50 hours, you can do it online, and you get a $3,000 bonus if you go through. And you don't even have to just be a civics teacher, an English teacher, because really this undergirds everything. And so we've been able to award more than $50 million in bonuses to teachers that have gone through this Civic Seal of Excellence program. And we were getting people from like professors from like Hillsdale College, Heritage Fund, I mean, people that really revere the foundations of America and really have learned about it. And the response has been, I think it's like a 90-some% approval for having gone through the course. They think it's very, very valuable. And so I think that's very telling that it's been that. So we're proud of doing that, and we're going to continue to do that. Now, we're always looking for ways to increase the experience in our schools and make sure that students have what they need to be successful. So one of the things that we've done is utilize Hope Florida, because it initially started with Child Welfare Department of Children and Families, but obviously there's a very strong nexus with education. And so using Hope Florida as a way to be able to connect students and families with additional resources depending on their needs that are exterior to government. And that's the whole thing with Hope Florida. I say it's like one of the policies of our administration. Some have said it's a program. It's not really a program as much as it's a philosophy about how do you use existing resources in state government to lift people up and put people in touch with resources that can lead them to a path to self-sufficiency. So the standard model, if you're in a government agency, if someone in need comes in and you look to see, okay, what programs or checks can I get to them that the government is doing, and that's kind of your silo, and that's what you really focus on. And that's hasn't really been proven to be very successful over many, many decades of doing that model, but it is what it is. But we also recognize in Florida, we have a wealth of resources in our communities that are exterior to government, particularly with the faith-based community. And so when the First Lady conceived of Hope Florida years ago, the insight was, there's a lot of people in need. There's a lot of people that want to help people in need, but connecting the two is not always easy. And the people in need tend to not know where all the resources are outside of maybe going to try to see if there are government programs they can get on. And so Hope Florida has enlisted thousands and thousands of churches, businesses, charities, even individual volunteers to be a part of the program. These folks that are working for state government have been basically repurposed to be what we call Hope Navigators. And so rather than just focusing on getting people on as many government programs as possible, they come in. We now have this care portal. The needs can go in. It goes out to all the Hope Florida stakeholders, and boom, you can have folks come and help that have nothing to do with government and are no cost to the taxpayer. And so that model is much different, but it's a model that is more successful. So since Hope Florida has been instituted, there have been 30,000 people that have gotten off public assistance, and it's saved Florida taxpayers over $100 million. Now, that's good in terms of the taxpayer savings, and we're proud of what we've been able to do to run a good fiscal ship. I mean, for example, I put out some good graphs. We've been on this mission to retire as much of Florida's debt. So, over a 180-year period, states can rack up debt. And so Florida had X amount of debt. And not like it was terribly high, but we wanted to do. So we've retired 41% of our state's historical debt just since I became governor in 2019. And what we've done is we've created a program to do it more aggressively, so we're retiring it early. That then saves us, I mean, we've saved over $1 billion in interest costs by retiring the debt early. So not only are you retiring the debt, you lower the total debt burden, but you're saving, each tranche we do is usually saving $100 to $300 million in accumulated interest costs. We also have a very uncertain bond market. There's a lot of issues out there in the economy, and so this has been really, really successful. So we now in Florida have the lowest per capita debt of any state that has state debt in the entire country. If you look at the percentage, the amount, so like debt per capita, how much if you just divvied up Florida's debt and we just wanted to retire it in one fell swoop, what would each Florida resident have to pay for that? Your share is less than $500 per citizen. Now, is that good? Is that not? Well, the federal national debt, if we did that per U.S. citizen, you would owe over $105,000 per U.S. citizen to be able to retire our federal debt. And then the amount that is owed per person in Florida has been declining significantly. Obviously, it's been rising in the United States. Our total number of state employees per capita is the lowest of anywhere in the United States. We've also cut taxes. We've done all that. So I'm very much about the fiscal. And this is a program or a philosophy that has helped save taxpayers a lot of money. But that, to me, is secondary to actually lifting people up and actually giving them hope, getting them connected with people who really care about them, take an interest in them, and want to see them succeed in different avenues of life. And that has been the way to do it, and that's really what's been inspiring about the program. And so I'm proud of the cost savings. I'm proud of that. But the individual stories, when you hear people that have benefited from the program, when you listen to our navigators who can talk about what they've been able to do to get people on a better path by leveraging these resources that are exterior to government, that is worth its weight in gold. That is really what this is all about. So we have done higher education, Hope Florida expansion, where you have Hope Florida liaisons at our state colleges. Because if you think about it, you may have a single mom struggling to put food on the table, but also going to a state college to try to get some more skills so that she could do a better job supporting her kids. And it's not easy, and you can fall on tough times. Well, you will have somebody right there at the state college who will be able to link with Hope and the resources that are available and potentially make a very meaningful difference in the lives of students like that. We've also done the Hope Florida with employers and Career Source. Sometimes people need some guidance on where to go. And look, Hope Florida, it can't guarantee you're going to get a job and all that. I mean, we have a private sector in that. But linking people with the resources that can get them in a position to be able to succeed is something that's really, really important. So since June 23, more than 1,700 individuals that were referred to Career Source through Hope Florida obtained a job or received help that allowed them to increase their earnings. And so that's something that, if not for these connections, a lot of that may not have ever happened. So we've been able to highlight the success of individuals who have been able to advance themselves, and we're really, really happy to see that people have succeeded. Now, with the Department of Education, Commissioner Diaz has really led the effort to be able to utilize the Hope model within our education department. And so since October of last year, the Florida Department of Education has been working to help families, particularly very young children aged 3 to 5, who think that their child may have a learning disability. Early interventions can make a really, really big difference. And so since October, the Hope Navigators at the Florida Department of Education have worked with more than 450 families across 46 different counties. And what they've done is they've connected those families with different resources. So 230 families were connected with student screenings and evaluation so that they could determine eligibility for community-based services available through partners like Center for Autism and Related Disabilities. 120 families were helped with their school district administrators to improve student achievement. 70 families helped with navigating school choice programs. 50 families helped with continuing education and employment assistance, and 50 families with child care and early learning resources. We're going to be doing more with Hope Florida in the child care space in the coming days and weeks. And of course, FDOE here in Florida, they're really involved with the state colleges, having the liaisons there. They oversee our state colleges. So that brings us to today's announcement. So there's been a lot that's been done, a lot of positive momentum, but we want to keep it going. So we're happy to announce today that the Florida Department of Education is now working a pilot program that identifies and trains a Hope Florida liaison at each school in select school districts. So these liaisons will serve as a dedicated person on staff who can act as a point of contact for Hope Florida resources for students, parents, and staff, serves as a trained expert in the Hope Florida navigation, receives Hope Florida materials to distribute in the office, to help students or families get connected with Hope Navigator when needed, and to train others on both the philosophy and functions of Hope Florida. Additionally, the liaison will be able to connect local community providers, charities, and faith-based organizations that are active within their school community with the Hope line if they can help support those who reach out to Hope Florida. Now, Orange County was the first school district to identify and train a liaison, and Lake County, which is why we're here today, is now the second district that is going to identify and train a liaison in every school. So thank you, Lake County, for stepping up and helping to spearhead this great expansion. So what will the pilot program do? Well, the navigators who are trained will be able to help parents and kids who have developmental disabilities find the support they need to ensure they have access to special education services. Navigators will also help with early intervention for children who have special needs, or even help families who may be having difficulties at home. And then the navigators can also help both students and parents by connecting them with resources for things like employment assistance for the parents or educational resources for the children. So how has this worked? Well, in one instance, a mother from Osceola County contacted Hope Florida seeking educational resources for her 5-year-old son with autism spectrum disorder. Her Hope Navigator identified the need for autism support services during their initial assessment and referred her to the Florida Diagnostic and Learning Resource System's Child Find Specialists to begin the evaluation process. The Mother's Hope Navigator also facilitated a handoff to the Centers for Autism and Related Disabilities. And then continuing with that, the Navigator followed up to learn that the son was enrolled in a local school and receiving autism services, and she is pleased with the Hope Florida Navigator's help. So greater self-sufficiency for families is not only good in of itself, it will also improve education for the children. So I want to thank Diane from here in Lake County for supporting this important mission. I know Lake County will continue to do a great job as they have for many, many years. And so this is an exciting announcement. We're going to hear from some more folks. So we'll begin with Florida's First Lady, and then we'll hear from our Commissioner of Education.
Well, thank you, Governor. I appreciate it. You know, the last time I had a privilege to talk about Hope Florida, I ended up going like 15 minutes, so I'm not going to do that to you guys, but I'm very passionate about it, and I'm just so appreciative of having the opportunity to be here and obviously to continue all of the good work that we're doing with Hope Florida. The Governor laid it out so well, but in its simplest of terms, Hope Florida is just for somebody who is seeking help finding help. You can have the best resources, you can have the best programs, but if you don't know that they're there, then what good are they? As the Governor mentioned a second ago, and why this partnership with the Department of Education is so important, you know, I've talked to a lot of moms of children who have unique abilities. And when they find out that their child has a unique ability, they don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do. They don't know who to call. And so what we're trying to do is simplify the process. It's one number, and you can talk to a human. And that human can help you with subject matter expertise, be able to find the resources. And not only that, fellowship. right? Be able to find other people who have experienced certain things in their lives, and you have relatability, and you're able to make connections, and your children, they're able to prosper because you're bringing the connection together. The Hope Florida model, and that's really what it is. The governor mentioned it. It's not a program. It's a philosophy. It's an idea about how can we truly help people in need in society, whether it's our veterans, whether it's children, whether it's a single mom. How can we do that and look outside of government? How can we utilize the nonprofits, meet immediate needs? How can we see what's there on the ground already? And how can we embrace the faith-based community? Because we're the first state in the nation to do that. We have 16.5 million people of faith across the state of Florida. They're there. They're willing and able to help. They just need to know where to look. And some of these people who are in need of help, they need to know that there are other people there willing to help. And so when you make that connection, it's a beautiful thing. And we're able to get away from government and see all of the resources and love and hope that's there in the communities. It's always been there. I mean, you're really able to unlock some pretty neat potential, and it's really special having the opportunity to see it up first. So I would just say with this, for anybody who needs help, calling that number, going to hopeflorida.com to be able to talk to somebody, I think that is your first big step. But then I would also say anybody who wants to be a part of the solution. This is something else that's important. You know, the governor was talking about the care portal technology and embracing the faith-based communities. Did you know if you go to Hope Florida right now and you log down, I want to help, and you go down and you look at the various things that are on the website, you can see how I can get involved and meet immediate needs in my community. So I was looking at this yesterday. There are needs right now in Orlando for a mom who needs cleaning supplies. Don't tell me for a second the people in this room wouldn't do that, or the faith-based communities or the private. They would. So being able to see that firsthand and meet those needs is a really powerful thing. So it's nothing more than embracing what's always been there. It's the connective tissue that we're doing behind the scenes to facilitate those opportunities. And so it's really been a privilege and an honor to spearhead this, and we're going to continue to do it and continue to grow because this is a model yet again for the nation. So thank you.
Okay. Amy?
Thank you, Governor and First Lady, for having me here, and thank you for your leadership on Hope Florida. As you heard the Governor say, not only has Hope Florida been able to help thousands across the state long-term in finding self-sufficiency, but when we've added these navigators here at the Department of Education, and you'll hear from some of our great navigators today on some of these services, they're fully equipped to be able to connect. When you think about you have a family where you have a desperation of having a child that's in need of special services with unique abilities or anything else, and being able to call the department and have our navigators connect them with those direct services. And that can include anything from an evaluation to having them be educated on the scholarship opportunities or the charter schools or district programs that are available in your area. A lot of folks don't have the time to be really cognizant of what these things are, and having that navigator there walking them through ends up in a good outcome. But on top of that, once we have that connection through the navigators at the department, we can talk to the adults, we can talk to the parents about, have you thought about going back to a state college and getting a credential or getting a degree? What is the situation we can help you with? And I am ecstatic to have our 28 state colleges involved now. Thanks to the leadership of the First Lady, we had a meeting. All of our presidents jumped on board. And it's not only being able to connect now these parents that come in through the department to that possibility, but think of all the students we have across our state that are going through a state college and maybe facing a situation in their life as they're trying to get this credential or degree. Now we can connect through our navigators, through that liaison at that state college, to Hope Florida, and help them find solutions and help provide those resources for our college presidents, for the staff who are trying to help their students, whether they be adults that are career changers coming back to school, or just students that are trying to get ahead in life and have come through there. So it's really incredible making all of these connections and being able to connect it to anywhere from 3 to 5 all the way to people who are going through college. I'm very excited And thank you, Superintendent, for Lake County joining us in this venture, in this pilot program. I'm thankful to Orange County as well. This is going to be great. Everybody knows that our schools are the centers of our community. And oftentimes it is our principals, it is our teachers, it is our guidance counselors that find out about an issue that a family is having through the student and through the parent. What better way to get them help than to immediately connect them to this network? I look forward to this growing across all 67 districts, through this pilot, and I look forward to being able, through Hope Florida, changing the lives of not only the children but the families. And again, Governor, I want to thank you for your leadership on this. First Lady, incredible leadership. Thank you for doing this, and we will continue to go forward and make sure that we can change the lives of Floridians going forward. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. I am Diane Cornegie, and I am the very proud superintendent of Lake County Schools. And on behalf of Lake County, we are honored to welcome these state leaders here today, who, like all of us here in Lake County, are committed to Florida's families, our students, and dedicated to making a positive impact in our communities. Today, we recognize your leadership. And through this initiative, we know that it holds great promise for the children and the families of Lake County and all across the state. Hope Florida, as you've heard, is designed to provide essential support, resources, and opportunities for the young people facing challenges in their personal lives. Developed and led by you, First Lady, thank you. Hope Florida seeks to empower children by helping them access vital educational resources, mentorship opportunities, and mental health services, recognizing that every child in Florida deserves a chance to thrive. Along with our state leaders, Lake County is committed to ensuring that our children receive the support they need to overcome obstacles and realize their full potential. Student success isn't only driven by the classroom, but also by ensuring that students have the resources they need at home. And for this reason, Lake is so honored and happy to have a Hope Florida liaison in every school, a person equipped with the resources they need to ensure that every family, every child has a path to success. Thank you, Governor DeSantis. Thank you, First Lady. And thank you, Commissioner Diaz, as we continue to work together to foster hope and opportunity for the future generations of Lake County. Thank you.
Hello. First off, thank you to the Governor and especially to the First Lady for allowing me to represent Hope Florida's Department of Education Navigators today. My name is Mary Magner, and I am here not just as a representative, but as someone who walks in the same shoes as many of the families that we help. I'm a single mom raising a 3-year-old, juggling the same daily challenges that so many Floridians face. Every day at Hope Florida, we're building bridges and connecting families with the private sector, the public agencies, nonprofits, and our faith-based communities. But behind all of the technical stuff, there is something much more personal happening. Before joining Hope Florida, I spent several years working with the Department of Juvenile Justice, where I saw firsthand how early intervention and proper supports can change the trajectory of a young person's life. That experience showed me that connecting families with resources before the crisis points are essential, and it's what drives my passion for the preventative work that I do now. Our team in the Department of Education actually works within the Bureau of Exceptional Education and Student Services, which means we have a special focus on supporting families who have children with disabilities. The system of support available to these families is incredible, but it is also overwhelming. Most folks simply don't know where to start, and that's where we come in. As navigators, we get to effectively deliver that person-centered support by prioritizing individualized goals and creating meaningful and lasting connections and support systems. I remember helping a single dad whose 3-year-old had just been diagnosed with autism, and I saw a lot of myself in him. We got him in touch with CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities, along with our Florida Diagnostic and Learning Resources Systems to start setting up those needed educational supports. And it's those kind of connections that most people simply do not know are out there that Hope Florida helps build the bridges with. Ultimately, these aren't just cases, they're neighbors, friends, and sometimes they're even us. because at some point we all need help. And that's exactly why Hope Florida exists, is to be there when that moment comes, to offer the assistance and genuine hope. So thank you.
Good job.
Hello, everybody. I am excited to be here. My name is Lakeisha Williamson. Thank you so much, Governor and First Lady, for inviting me out to speak. I am a Hope Navigator with the Florida Department of Education. I've worked with children and families. I started out there going just to be an admin or to be an assistant. I ended up being an assistant to Miss Murray, who was the director over with Hope Florida. I had never heard of Hope Florida. So having the opportunity to kind of follow her around and go to the meetings she was going to, she was speaking and the staff was speaking from the heart. We would hear testimonies and I was like, I want to be a part of this venture. It was beautiful to actually have an opportunity to see the families who were actually in need, and a Hope Navigator went to their rescue. They was linking up with a lot of people in the community, which I didn't know were out there that could actually assist. So when the opportunity came over at the Department of Education to be a Hope Navigator, of course I jumped in. I applied for the position. I got it. I was super excited. One of the things that I really learned is that it is so many of us, and I say us because I'm included in that number, who don't know where to go, who don't know where to start. Where do you start looking when your child has issues? I had a parent to come to me. She called in on the Hope line. She came in and she was like, I'm working part-time. They want to give me a full-time position. I have 2 little ones. They're in daycare, but they're in daycare only part-time. I need full-time care. I don't know what to do. I don't know who I need to speak with. I told her, I got you. No problem. We got this. So I linked her up with one of our at ELC, which is the education for coalition. So it's for the younger kids. So we were able to get her in and get her with her. They talked to a couple of daycares. She picked off of a list. Now, she didn't have transportation. So that's another problem. And it was fine. They were able to work together. They found a daycare that actually was able to pick the kids up. This daycare came out to her house and gave her the application. She filled out the application right there. They got the kids into school. I called her actually this week to make sure that everything was going smoothly. When I called her, I couldn't even get out my name. She knew who I was immediately. So she was like, oh my God, the kids are in school. They're loving it. The bus is coming to pick them up. They're so excited to go. And I said, okay, that's great. What about you? Did you end up doing anything different? She was able to get a full-time position where she was working at. They gave it to her because they wanted to give it to her, but she didn't have the childcare. So once she was able to get all of those pieces lined up, she was able to get a full-time position. The kids are in school full-time at a daycare. It was amazing to see it unfold. We don't stop there. So we continue to reach out to those parents to make sure that it's going to continue. Make sure that if there's anything that pops up, you have my direct line number. Call me. You have my email. Give me a call. We're going to walk you through this process because it's a journey and we all need help. And that's what we're here for as Hope Navigators. Thank you.
Good job.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel Arazashvili. I think you did very well, Governor. I had to learn how to say it myself. It is an honor to be here today in Fruitland Park. I have to say it's the first time I've ever heard of it and the first time I'm ever here, but a wonderful memory to last a lifetime. Before I begin, I do want to extend a heartfelt gratitude to First Lady and Governor for not only allowing me to share my story, but also for the steadfast leadership that you bring to Florida and how we are prospering and your willingness to do so. Again, my name is Rachel Arazashvili. I'm a proud wife, a mother of 2 sons, one who served the military and served our country proudly, and one that's here with me today. I am the executive director of Kids Are First, the founder of KR Fashions. We are a nonprofit organization that have served as the nonprofit for the Guardian Ad Litem program in the 7th Circuit Court in Volusia County, Putnam, St. John's, Flagler, for over 23 years. We are a nonprofit 100% voluntary. So all of our members, all of our individuals that participate is on a voluntary basis, so nobody gets paid. What we do is we provide basic essentials for the children in foster care systems: clothing, shoes, school supplies, birthday gifts, Christmas presents, graduation cap and gown, prom dresses. Whatever your child has and needs, you name it, is what we provided. And the reason why this nonprofit came into fruition is because there wasn't enough funding in the system to provide. And so our community came together to provide it. Our connection with Florida, Hope Florida, began a few years ago when we received an award of funding that supported what we did. And it came at such a crucial moment for our nonprofit. And it was truly a blessing that allowed us to continue to serve the needs of our community and also solidify our service to the community. It was a surprise that we got, because they gave us a call and said, First Lady would like to meet you and award you, and we went anticipating nothing but just the honor of meeting you, and then we got an award, money. We love that. And so as of today, we are partners of Hope Florida, and we continue to receive the calls and the needs in our community, and our community is willing to help. And so when we get the phone calls, if it's something that we do not have, we put the word out and we provide it. It could be a stroller, a bed, a high chair for a child that just came into the system and a grandmother taking in the child. And so it is a blessing to be able to have that. But my story doesn't just end there. Not just a leader, but it's a deeply personal one. Because I'm a mother of a brilliant 16-year-old son living with autism, and he's here with me today. He's a gifted pianist, mathematician, a servant in our community and our church, and he continues to thrive in ways that I could have never imagined. Still, the early years were incredibly hard because I didn't have anywhere to go. I was a working leader in my community and in my church. When I got the news that he was diagnosed over 13 years ago, I didn't have any direction on who to call. I didn't have anybody standing next to me, guiding me, and showing me where to go. And so this is the reason why today's announcement is so important. Because the process of finding the right services or advocating for his needs while I'm working and being a parent and serving the needs of the children in the community and the foster care system was overwhelming, and most of the time felt lonely. Had I been connected with Hope Navigator back then, having someone like these two ladies to guide me and support me, talk me through it, give me hope, connect me with others, or just give me that call the next day to say, how did that go? Follow you through it, would have made a difference in the stress, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, my time that could have been directed in other areas. And so I thank you, ladies, navigators, that do what you do with your passion and your commitment, because you are changing lives that are immeasurable. I also want to mention that embedding Hope Navigators within the school system will ensure that these families, like mine, won't have to face these early uncertain years. And it means that someone will be there for them. And so that in itself is a blessing. And thank you, First Lady Cassidy DeSantis. Did I say that right? Cassidy, Casey? Casey. My Latin actually goes backwards, so I apologize. But thank you, First Lady, for heading up this initiative, because I believe it's going to be a blessing to so many. And thank you for having me.
Good job. We appreciate everyone that's involved. You know, when you're dealing with different issues, if someone needs, you know, like we had the Hurricane Ian, and it knocked out, you know, a couple of the causeway and one of the bridges. Like, you know, not that that's easy, but like you either rebuild the bridge or you don't, right? I mean, it's pretty much, you know, when we did the one in 3 days, we did the other one very quickly, and people were happy with that. But you know what you got to do, you do it, right? When you're talking about someone in need, it's not like you can just write a check and be guaranteed that those folks are going to end up broadening their horizons. There's a lot of different things that go into it. And I just don't think that ultimately you can have a sustainable model if you're not enlisting all these great partners in the community, whether it's our charities, our faith-based groups, whether it's private businesses who want to help. I mean, how many businesses want to help veterans who are in need? Individuals who want to volunteer their time. So it's much more difficult. The problems are much more difficult. They're not as susceptible to easy solutions. And so that's where you have to start thinking bigger than just the silo of one or more government bureaucracies. And that's exactly what Hope Florida's done. And the people that have been a part of it have made a real difference. And the best is yet to come, guys. So thank you all. Appreciate it. All right, I'll take any questions if we got any back there. Yes, ma'am? Of course it was. It was all political. Of course it was. When people smear what they fear. And if Hope Florida represents a threat to their worldview, they're going to go at it. If the First Lady represents a threat potentially to what they're doing. So it was all manufactured in terms of the political. But the reality is when you're doing this stuff, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you have some type of personal or political agenda? Are you doing it because you actually want to see people succeed? You actually want to lift people up? And I can tell you this is a program designed to lift people up, a philosophy designed to do that, and the results have been very, very positive. I don't think there's anybody out there that thinks it's a bad thing to get 30,000 people off welfare programs and save taxpayers $108 million. I mean, there's no one out there that's going to say that's a bad thing. Especially when you see partners who have made such a big difference, and they're in all corners of the state. I mean, you know, you can be in Northwest Florida, you can be in Central Florida. We've got churches, we've got charities, we've got people that really, really care. And, you know, you heard from some of our navigators. I mean, it's inspiring to be able to make a difference in people's lives in a more profound way. So, yes, it was political. Obviously, we're now in a different posture in terms of this legislative session. But the mission continues, and we're not going to let, you know, any of these guys get in our way. Yes.
Volunteer positions, paid positions, if so who's funding them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question.
And also, like, are these people from inside the district already, or people from outside? Some of those details, please.
Right. Well, so just generally speaking, writ large, Hope Navigators are almost all people that are already working for the state. And then they are trained and repurposed to be able to serve as navigators. And so it's really an expansion of their responsibilities and their duties, but at no cost, additional cost to the taxpayer. I would imagine that's what the school districts will do as well. Take folks who are already here, train them to be navigators, and then they will serve that function, would be my guess. The program or the philosophy of what we've done with Hope hasn't sought to get a lot of money or any money to do. It has been repurposing.
Welcome into Florida Live. If you're just now joining us on Fox Local Tampa, we appreciate it. We are listening in to Governor Ron DeSantis speaking at Fruitland Park Elementary School in Lake County. He is talking about an expansion of the Hope Florida program, where a pilot program that is identifying and training liaisons for Hope Florida in all schools in select school districts, the first being Orange County, the second being Lake County. He's answering questions right now. Just a minute ago, called the probe into Hope Florida manufactured and political. We've been listening into this for a while.